let me say one thing here. So I personally, to start this out, had no feelings or even really deep experience with Froot until recently. Now, about a month ago, I saw a video from DN, Depressed Usagi, on Froot. Now, this is before everything that happened here, because what's relevant here really happened on September 19th and forward. So a month ago, and talking about everything that happened the video from a month ago was really only relevant to old drama. Now, for those that want to catch up on that, you can go back and there's plenty of videos out there, not just that video. If you don't like DN, well, I know a lot of people don't. You can go back and check the other people. You can go do that and watch all that. And I debated playing that video as background for the stream, but I actually, upon thinking about it closely, thought, you know what? It's going to be distracting to go over a bunch of old stuff that's not legally relevant. But for those that might not know who she is or be apathetic or don't care, which by the way seems to be 65% of you, so there we go. For those 65% of you that don't care and might not know, some of the things that Froot was allegedly, and once again I'm using that phrase, allegedly involved with in the past, was the drama regarding Hogwarts Legacy. Obviously, a lot of stuff went down back then. A lot of content creators are on one side or another side of that evil wizard game drama. And that was one thing. There was donations to a charity. And then we have this coming up, this last drama, which dovetails into this document that was dropped on the 19th. Of the accusations, and once again, accusations of quote unquote cheating. Now, I want to put a little asterisk because as far as I've seen, and as far as I know from what I've reviewed, and I have reviewed both the entire Froot document as well as other people's opinions and everything else there, I haven't seen anything that on the dot nails down 100% that a specific type of cheating occurred. I think that when you say cheating, that can be a larger flag, and whether or not it was actually cheating in the first place. So I see debate whether or not it was cheating in the first place, whether or not it occurred, right? And for the point of the legal analysis that we're going to do today and what we're going to talk about, it's actually irrelevant whether any cheating occurred of any point. I see people debating whether it was fucking or emotional cheating or whatever else, or nothing at all. And just an abusive relationship, whether it was abusive one way, mutually abusive, etc., right? That really isn't material. And whether or not you think that Froot is 100% being honest in this document that she published, which we'll talk about in a second, or whether you think it's complete BS and you equate Froot to the Amber Heard of the VTuber space. That's your decision. Once again, there's a reason why my channel also has that tagline, be your own judge, because I'm not here to dictate that to you. But one thing I will say, and this is one thing that needs to be very clear, and I want to come out from the gate saying this, because I need to be very, very clear about this. Whether you're a pro or an anti, there are certain types of behavior which are 100% inappropriate. I've mentioned one type, which is coming out and dropping ad hominem and attacking without actually listening. I had some Froot stands, some Froot fans with parasociality over 9,000 come out and attack me out of nowhere for nothing without even hearing what I had to say on this. That's not acceptable. But in terms of the Froot antis, I'll post something here that is also unacceptable. And here we go. This is from Camilla right here, who posted, I had to delete my reply because a few people were hitting too close to home. I understand people being upset, but this really, I hope your mom dies from the tumors in her blood. It's what you deserve for supporting a cheating. This is not, and I posted right here about this. Regardless of how you feel about an issue, this type of reaction is wildly inappropriate and childish, right? So whether you're pro or anti, right? That's fucking inappropriate. And it's inappropriate for everybody, for anyone, right? Period. That's wildly inappropriate. So I don't support that for anybody at all, right? It's low IQ. So don't act like that in one way or another. I mean, I absolutely, without any caveat, condone that, right? And like I said, going the other way, attacking me for just covering a topic without knowing how I'm going to cover it is also unhinged. I'm going to ban you. I'm going to block you. I'm going to hide you from my YouTube chat. I'm going to mute you. I'm going to time you out. My mods are going to ban you. And I give zero fucks about that. And, I do not feel bad about that at all. So just throwing both those things out there. Yeah. And I love, by the way, somebody that attacked me. This was the greatest thing. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. So somebody attacked me, and when they attacked me literally on their page, they had positive vibes only. Let me see. And I will talk a little bit about this because there is such a thing as toxic positivity, and I found a good graph here. And I'm going to get back to this, but I want to hit on this because I think this is a very, very good point, and this is an important point for business and also for interpersonal relationships, right? And I focus on the result here. Now, a lot of people, this is a good graph here, right? And toxic positivity versus gaslighting. Okay. So the differentiation here between toxic positivity and gaslighting in the mind of the people who made this, and I would generally agree, is toxic positivity is generally inadvertent, coming out of a quote unquote intent to help or make someone feel better. And it's rooting in a very misguided, I would underline very misguided attempt at caring, right? Versus gaslighting, which obviously is intentional and it's rooted in selfishness to manipulate somebody. But the result is the same. And I'm a results focused person. So for me, I look at the purple column. I don't really care whether it's blue or red. I care about purple because at the end of the day, the main thing I focus on is the frustration, the resentment, the invalidation, but mainly suggesting a less negative view of reality, which is both in your personal relationships and in your business relationships, absolutely not good, particularly in business. If you are in a business environment where you can essentially not hear any counterpoints, so you're like, oh, cool, so let's design this spaceship made out of pure, I don't know, let's make it out of mud and let's try to send it to Uranus, right? And no one's there to tell you, well, that's not going to work because it won't even get out of the atmosphere, not even get off the launch pad, right? And we're going to power it with cow farts. That's not going to work, right? People in the chat, they're saying it, and this is totally true. And whether or not you like this, one of the places this happened was with Concord. Right? Chad is right on this one. Concord had a serious issue with that because no one stopped and told them, hey, bro, this is just not a good game. You need to make this a good game, right? Like no one stopped them because they had a culture that was labeled toxically positive. I would say it was closer to the gaslighting side of the spectrum, right? But that's neither here nor there. The result is the same, and the result is a bad result. Right? So that's what I want to focus on is, hey, the result is you're so focused on less negative that you ignore the realities of the issue. And this is something that's going to come up, I think, as we talk about this, and also came up in the initial reaction of the stance. So let's get into what was posted. And let's get into the basis. So this is really, from my analysis, starts with this. So my analysis starts on September 19th, 2024 with 29.3 million views. Okay. So when I went to cover this, a lot of people were saying, well, Froot just wants all this to go away. She wants all this to disappear. She doesn't want to talk about it, right? She doesn't want to hear about this. She just wants it to go away. The problem is when you post something publicly on X, the indication is that you want other people to read it. And if you put something out on the internet, people are going to comment on it. So I will say this, and this is a criticism, and this is where the Froot pros aren't going to like me. But if you post something, it's going to make the drama worse, not make it go away. So any thought that this 90-page document, which I have read all of, right? And let me pull up here just so you guys see I've got the document on my desktop and it's not something I haven't not read or whatever else. Right over here, here's the document, right? I want to share a piece of me for a moment, right? Green is me, blue is him, right? I've got all freaking 90 pages of it here. Actually, my browser's lagging here because it's so long. Actually, let me just remove this. It's actually going to crash. It's going to crash because this document is so long. Word of perfect. You fell on me again. LibreOffice for the win. I've actually got two different docs open and I open them in different doc editors. But that said, I've read the whole thing. Okay, guys. So I've read the whole document. I've seen all of that, right? Nothing about that is going to silence the haters or is going to put everything to bed or is going to provide conclusive evidence of anything. Now, the folks that are predisposed to believing her are going to believe her. The people that are going to be antis are going to say antis. The pros are going to say, oh yeah, clearly, and this is what I saw in my replies. The pros were saying, oh yeah, clearly this guy's abusive. Didn't you read the text? Didn't you read the document? That's what the pros said, right? The pros said, oh, just read the document. It's clear this guy's abusive. The antis said, well, hold on. Sorry, I got to get away. The antis said, well, hold on. Where's his side of the story? And this is spinning something in a way that is favorable to you and not showing the other side. So there was interpretation both ways, but none of it was going to silence drama. And clearly this got a ton of views, so it did not make it less public. It's huge. And coming down from that, you saw these two people, and these two people are, I think, the ones that people got most mad at. First of all, Kson, who, by the way, I'm just going to disclose my own bias here. I like Kson, right? I watch a lot of Kson clips. I may or may not have a little bit of a Kson crush, right? Just saying. That said, I'm going to be fair here and objective. I'm going to put that aside, right? Saying thank you for sharing your memory, Froot. It hurts to know that you had to go through this. Always be on your side no matter what, with a heart emoji, right? And then Iron Mouse, I am so incredibly proud of you, sending you a million hugs. Okay. So real quick here. I know why they would post this, right? I know why they would post this. Okay. And on face value, especially for someone who works at your company and someone who's a stream mate and somebody who is out there with you, I get the mutual support and I see that. And you know what? I understand, right? But I also understand why the antis will say when you post stuff like this, it makes it look like you're endorsing that everything in here is absolutely true. And beyond that, she's in the moral right. I can see how this statement can be interpreted the wrong way. I can ask Grok, but I don't need Grok. I don't need an AI to tell me that always be on your side no matter what can be interpreted the wrong way. It can be interpreted in an emotional way, i.e., hey, I love you no matter what. Like a sister or a brother might say, or a mom, right, might say, I love you no matter what, baby. I love you no matter what. But does that mean that you can do no wrong and that nothing you do will ever be wrong? Not necessarily. But you could also interpret this, and the autist out there might interpret this as, well, that means that she did nothing wrong and she's morally a good person. Like they're condoning her morally as a good person. So because there was a ton of blowback on this, Kson posted a reply. And we're going to read that. Okay. We're going to read this reply. So here's her reply, and we're going to read it carefully. Okay. Because we're going to come back to this. We're going to come back to this kind of multiple times. Oh boy. Everyone is being so nasty about this post meaning the post which I just showed you, and I just noticed it. Not getting the situation correctly, but I admit I have only read the first few pages of the document. Rush to show love and support to my VShojo sis, which, by the way, is what I thought the situation was. And to be honest, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. I mean, there's nothing inherently wrong with that like emotional reaction, but people will always read when you're a public figure. They're going to read beyond that. They're going to look beyond that. Okay. So I think that's what the other girls did. I would agree with you. Let me make myself clear about this, and I don't want any misunderstanding. No, I do not tolerate cheating. No, I do not tolerate cheating. So this right here, we're going to underline this statement. This right here is a big problem. Continuing, as the Oni-san of VShojo, I have the right to slap her in the face if she did so. I know nothing about relationships. Who am I to judge about her past? But at the end of the day, Froot has been nothing but nice to me from day one, and that's all that matters. So yes, I will support my girl if she is feeling down. I will respect her opinion, right and wrong, but persuade her if she's going the wrong way. That's the kind of friend I want. I don't judge people by what they said to what they are said to be like on the internet. I only judge them how someone is towards me because of what I experienced. This is my opinion. Thank you for reading this. And I understand this sentiment. I understand the sentiment of saying, hey, look, this is a person that has not been fucked up to me. So I was reacting based on my individual relationship with her. That's fine. And people can be nice to you and mean to other people. I mean, if anybody watched Downfall, right? I mean, Hitler was kind of nice to his secretaries, right? You know, I mean, even people that you would perceive as bad or evil, even if you viewed Froot as evil, which I'm not saying she is, by the way, right? But even there are people that society perceives as bad that interact good with other people. There's also good people that also interact bad with other folks, right? Yeah, exactly. And relationships can change, by the way, right? So, for example, if you discover something about somebody you didn't know, and after your own research, you find out it's true, and you did not know this thing before, you're entitled to change your opinion about them. You're not locked into loving someone forever. You also don't have to necessarily push back on them for that thing. You don't have to be the one to come out and call them out. However, the problem is that Kson is a very, very public figure, and Kson works at the same agency as Froot and Iron Mouse, right? They all work at VShojo. So what happened? Well, let's fast forward about, I don't know, a couple hours. And what we have here is we have this post being deleted, right? So it's deleted by the author. Kson says only love and support can make people better. Just want to say it out loud. And then right here, confirming, so this is not me making this shit up, right? Okay, management told me to delete it, so I did. I'll leave this because this is what I said. This is what I think, right? This is what I think, right? So she's allowed to say this. Now, why did she have to delete this? So I'm going to draw your attention to why, and this is once again, people are like, get to the legal part. We're getting there, guys. You need to have a basis. Inner peace, deep breaths. We've also got 2,800 watching, so smash a like button and let's get over 1,000. Let's get over 1,000 likes. All right. So she mentions here in her post cheating. She also mentions, and she mentions it again, right, on the next one. Right, saying I have the right to slap in her face if she did so. So why is that a problem? Well, that is a problem because of certain legal provisions. So there's two things that are a problem here. Number one is non-disparagement, right? When you are working for a company, you typically have a non-disparagement clause. So a non-disparagement clause says you cannot say bad stuff about somebody else who works at your company. That's bad. Don't do that. And that does tie in with part number 2, which is about the advertisers and the morals clause. We'll get into that in a second. But if you're disparaging people at your work, you're saying, hey, I work at Coca-Cola, or I work at Andrew Co. I work at Esquire Enterprises, right? Legal Mindset Inc., where they put all the children are crafting in the mines, right? For Esquire Inc. If you were to say that your coworker is a criminal, that's going to make everybody look bad. It makes the whole company look bad. It's detrimental to everybody, including you, by the way, right? Because you work with a criminal, right? You work in the mines with a criminal child. The point of the matter is that's very common, very, very common. But many people have pointed this out, and I'll point it out as well. That's not all. There's more. So the problem is that what does VShojo do? Now, VShojo, we're going to talk about this a little bit more after I get through these legal clauses, but VShojo is not the Niji Sanji. They're not HoloLive. They don't control every aspect of the waifu's activities, behavior, life, etc., right? They don't do that. They don't exercise that level of control. They're supposed to be, and their kind of selling point is the kind of the Freedom Corporation, or the one that's more free. They can do what they want. They have a lot of flexibility, right? But the one thing they do provide, and they do link in with, is advertising, merchandising, sponsorship, support. And when you look at the average, and this is a clause that I took from an average advertising contract, and I inserted the word myself. I did this. I inserted the word VTuber. So we're going to read this. This is an average clause. This is not from the VShojo contract. I want to say this very clearly. This is not from the VShojo contract. And I know what everyone is thinking. Andrew, have you seen the VShojo contract? On the record, I have not seen the VShojo contract. And because of that, I will not comment as to what I might think or it is or isn't or whatever else it is, right? This is just a standard generic contract. I have seen a lot of VTuber contracts that I can talk about publicly, and we'll kind of leave it at that, right? Neither confirm nor deny. I can neither confirm nor deny that I have seen the VShojo contract, right? However, this is a standard contract, right? Okay, so let's see this. This is a morals clause, okay? So and I once again, I inserted the word VTuber, okay? But it works. Okay. VTuber understands at all times during this agreement that VTubers shall conduct themselves with due regard regarding to public conventions, moral and sponsor policy, and refrain from any behavior which may be objectionable to sponsor. So what they might do is they might provide them with an actual policy from their corporation saying, we don't like X, Y, or Z. So the corporation might say, oh, we don't like drinking. We don't like gambling. We don't like guns. We don't like talking about oil companies, right? You can't do any of that. They might have a ton of things. They say, you know what? That violates our morals of our company, and therefore those are objectionable to us, right? If your sponsor is Greenpeace, right? Maybe you don't want like to be sponsored by Chevron or BP, right? As well. So maybe you'd have other sponsors that they don't want to appear alongside of. Right? There's a lot of things they could say, hey, if you do that, we're going to cut your contract. So at all times during the term of this agreement, VTubers shall not commit an offense involving moral turpitude under federal, state, or local laws. Let me be very clear right now. Nowhere in any of this, and I reviewed all the evidence, I don't see her committing, even taking in the light most favorable to the antis, right? I don't think Froot committed any crimes, okay? So in the light most favorable to the antis, I don't think any crimes were committed, right? Even in the worst scenario. I think maybe some morally untoward things happened, but I don't think it necessarily was a crime. Even if you were to assume that the worst. Once again, that's presuming the worst. And I'm not presuming either way. I'm just saying, even for the antis. So that first part doesn't apply. But here's the second part. And here's the huge problem. Commit any act or do anything that will tend to degrade the VTuber. So what is that? Not that will. This is a standard clause. Tend to degrade. Tend to. That means has a tendency for. That does not mean that it will. That just means it could, right? Or by implication, a sponsor in society or bring themselves into public shock, public disrepute, contempt, scorn, ridicule, or that will tend to shock, insult, or offend the community or public morals and decency. So let me just put this. This is a freaking Mack truck you can drive anything through. This is really broad. And because this is so open-ended, and by the way, I've drafted these contracts. They're very controversial. These come up with athletes. These come with famous people. These come up in big contracts. These things are controversial, but these are the type of terms that are there. And I know that if I looked at those advertising contracts, I guarantee you they got something just like this that says, hey, if you tend to make us look bad, we can terminate, right? And actually, it's not even just termination. They can request you change it, and if you don't, we can terminate it. Right? If you don't, this is standard. This is not crazy. I'm not making this shit up, people. This is normal, right? 3, do or refrain from doing anything that would prejudice sponsor or its employees, officers, directors, affiliates, subsidiaries, or parents, or the VTubing industry in general. I added, so this was like blank industry in general, so I changed to VTubing, right? Or has a substantial adverse effect on the business or reputation of sponsor. If at any time in the reasonable and good faith opinion of sponsor, VTuber is determined by sponsor to have committed an act or done anything, whether intentionally or negligently, which might be considered immoral, deceptive, scandalous, or obscene. So is cheating scandalous? Yes. To injure, tarnish, damage, or otherwise negatively affect the reputation and goodwill associated with a sponsor, or to otherwise violate the clause, they may immediately suspend or terminate. Now, some other clauses say that they give them notice and they allow them to remedy and cure, right? That's very common. They say, we'll give you 15 days to cure. But some of the more asshole provisions don't give them that time. This is normal. And this is a fucking problem because it's a problem for them. Here's why. If they get this post from Kson, let's go back here. Let's pull this up again because some people are going to accuse me of being crazy. But let's pull this up. And they say, no, I do not tolerate cheating. The implication here is that it's possible that she could. Remember what the contract said. It didn't say that she had to cheat. It just said that there's the tendency, there's their appearance. It looks like she did. Because it puts that shade out there, the advertisers could cancel based on that. Is that morally right that sponsors can cancel so easily? Maybe you might say that legally that's kind of shady, but that's common. So did Kson do anything necessarily wrong in this post? Well, I don't think she realized she did. But obviously, this is something that could trigger that provision. And once again, Kson is not a lawyer. I don't blame Kson for not understanding contract nuances, right? It's not Kason's fault that she doesn't understand that. It really isn't. It isn't her fault, right? And I don't expect Kson or Iron Mouse or Froot, by the way. I don't expect Froot or even Froot to know what she's doing, right? Legally. The problem is, they've now hurt their brand because their brand as this freedom brand, as this indie brand where, we don't try to control you. You say what you want. You do what you want. That now is a problem because the perception is that right now, as of date, the Froot post is still up. And if you were looking at from a damaging standpoint, VShojo would be within their right to ask Froot to take this down because this does lead to a scandalous situation, which could lead to termination of certain advertising, similar to the Kson post, right? This doesn't help either. But it's a catch-22 because what does that hurt? It hurts their reputation for being able to post whatever they want on social media. Do you get where this is a huge problem, guys? And it's really hurting them in that market niche because that's their niche. And if they fail in this niche, well, another company is going to try to step up. Now, you guys can probably see from this why HoloLive and Niji Sanji, in both the black and white manner, so to speak, control their talents. They control their talents so shit like this doesn't happen, right? And the thing with indies and the beauty of being an indie is you can post whatever the fuck you want and nobody can tell you to take it down. That's the beauty of being an indie. And that's a good thing about being an indie. But when you have the situation like this, it can boil out of control. So we had this situation get wildly out of control. And let me show you why this is such a massive, massive problem for them, VShojo, right now. And that's because of normal degen behavior. But if you look at normal degen behavior here, which is not you guys, once again, he posted I actually don't know if this is a woman or a man, whatever. It's somebody, right? Normal degen behavior, aka Little Lefty, said, husband deployed on military service, cheated on him. He finds out and wants to die. Suddenly he is now abusive. Every single established VTuber comes out on her side. I don't know whether this statement is actually true, but I guess they would lead on the word established. The problem was this statement was picked up. It got 3.6 million views. And then when you see what happened, the real problem and the real reason why I laugh when people say that my little video is going to cause problems is because there's a little bit of a bigger video that came out in a clip that came out earlier that is a bigger problem here. And let me play this. This is a much bigger problem, by the way.
Let's see here. I saw this. So, oh my God.
So here we go. You got Papa Aspen. He may have gotten ahead of his sticks on this one though. But let's play the rest of this here.
Oh my God. So this girl, she goes and puts out a Google Doc talking about basically it's a 90-page document, okay? Like literally 90 pages of this. So anyway, I know how valuable time is and I won't take up too much of yours. You should have had that at the start rather than the end. And so
I'm gonna, and guys, I know you're gonna get mad at me, but that is a funny take right there.
She goes around and just talking about how she got abused and her last relationship was really bad, making people feel sorry for her, etc.
For context, almost every single initial reply is supportive of her.
And then there were apparently a dozen or so people that actually read all 90 pages. And after they looked into it, they found out that in fact, she was the one that had cheated on her husband while he was on deployment. So if you look at the engagements here, let's read some of these. And I'd be pretty mad too if my wife fucked 5 different men instead of me. She put out a twit longer.
Now, let's be very clear about that. That Google does not say that she fucked 5 different men, right? That's not explicitly in that document.
Begging for attention and looking for approval for cheating on her fucking husband. It's crazy.
Yeah. So that came out. So obviously, my piddly ass channel is not going to get more than the 600,000 people. That video will probably eventually get over 1 million people that watch that video, right? So obviously the exposure is there beyond whatever anything I can do. And hopefully actually this can focus it on VShojo and actually the legal situation that VShojo's in, because now they're in a really tight spot because they've gotten a ton of blowback on this and they're going to feel the need to comment on this. But no matter what they do, there's literally no right answer here because they can piss off their talent internally, which, by the way, guys, I don't think Kson sounds really happy about the fact that management made her delete this tweet. I don't think she's tickled pink. I don't think anybody is when management makes you delete this tweet. So you've now caused some internal tension because you made her delete a tweet here, right? And you've caused a external view of your company to be compromised as some free independent company, right? You've hurt yourself in general. And now you've got this narrative about cheating that's been perpetuated by a very large million-person channel that you feel like you need to debunk or fight back against or push back against. I'm sure Froot feels like she might need to follow up or whatever else or say more, when that could just dig things in and make things worse overall. So that's the situation. I hope you guys get my point on this. And really, that's what I had to say.